then he would program it in, this is what I do, and then execute it, and then knock the guy out.
But that's what they say, but it's not always the case.
Terence Crawford and Max Kellerman have both weighed in on the upcoming showdown between Errol Spence Jr. and Tim Tszyu. A matchup like this brings together contrasting styles, relentless pressure, and elite-level experience, creating the kind of fight that could have a major impact on both fighters' legacies and future championship ambitions. Terence Crawford made it clear that a fight between Errol Spence Jr. and Tim Tszyu is far more than just a headline-grabbing matchup. In his view, it represents a genuine test for both men, where success will depend on timing, ring IQ, and the ability to make the right decisions under pressure rather than relying solely on power or reputation. Crawford also emphasized that Tszyu should not be underestimated, describing him as a legitimate threat whose pressure, toughness, and determination could create serious problems for Spence on fight night.
Great little men that moved up in weight. They beat the great big.
Max Kellerman described the matchup between Errol Spence Jr. and Tim Tszyu as one of the most intriguing fights that can be made right now, highlighting the contrast between Spence's proven world-class experience and Tszyu's relentless pressure, confidence, and momentum. Kellerman noted that while Spence has spent years defeating elite opposition at the highest level, Tszyu brings a fresh challenge with a style that forces opponents into uncomfortable exchanges and constant action, making the fight must-watch television for boxing fans. Meanwhile, Terence Crawford expressed strong confidence in Spence's return, saying he expects the former champion to perform well in his comeback and reminding fans of the skill set that made him one of boxing's most respected fighters. Crawford said he is excited to see Spence back in the ring and ultimately backed him to get the victory, believing his experience, ring IQ, and championship pedigree will be enough to overcome the challenge presented by Tszyu.
Spence is returning against Tim Tszyu. Just wanted your thoughts on the return of Errol.
I think Errol's going to do an amazing job. I'm looking forward to him getting back in the ring, and I think he's going to be successful in his comeback.
Ryan Garcia also weighed in on the highly anticipated matchup between Errol Spence Jr. and Tim Tszyu. While much of the attention has centered on Spence's return after an extended period away from the ring, Garcia believes the fight will answer important questions about whether the former champion can still operate at the elite level that made him one of boxing's biggest names. In Garcia's view, the contest is a major test for both fighters. For Spence, it's an opportunity to prove he remains among the sport's best, while for Tszyu, it's a chance to defeat an established champion and elevate his status to an entirely new level. Once the opening bell rings, Garcia believes there will be a tremendous amount on the line for both men.
Line there. I mean, to me, that's a fun fight. When I heard those two names together, I mean, that's like a lot of beef there.
Errol Spence will be going to 154 for that fight if it happens. Either way, he's going to go up when he comes back, and you're talking about two guys that are going to have basically, 2.5-year layoffs?
Yeah, it is an intriguing, though.
Boxing is better when Errol Spence is...
Max Kellerman believes this matchup raises major questions about where Errol Spence Jr. stands at this stage of his career and whether Tim Tszyu is truly ready to seize the biggest opportunity of his professional journey. According to Kellerman, this is the type of fight that can redefine perceptions overnight. A strong performance from Spence could remind everyone why he was considered one of boxing's elite for so many years, while a victory for Tszyu could elevate him into a completely different tier of the sport. In Kellerman's view, the outcome has the potential to reshape the narrative surrounding both fighters for years to come.
The guy has those advantages in boxing skill and speed, and they don't take risks. They are almost impossible to beat. And the style to me, does he rise to that level? Because it's not enough just to have that. It has to be executed at an extremely high level. Do you guys feel like he has that look?
Terence Crawford remains confident that Errol Spence Jr. will emerge victorious against Tim Tszyu. Crawford believes that despite the challenges ahead, Spence still possesses the skill set, experience, and ring IQ necessary to navigate a difficult matchup. In his view, championship-level experience and the ability to make smart adjustments under pressure could be the factors that ultimately allow Spence to overcome Tszyu's aggression and secure the win.
You think you've said you don't think he beats Errol Spence?
Yeah, I think Spence beat him. At this point in both of their career, I think Spence beat him. I'm not the one to say, what he can and what he can't do. Me and my boy Tazzy had a little wager on if him and Spence fought each other, who will win. And I had to back Spence because that's what I believe in. But, I'm not the one fighting, so at the end of the day, I'm not the one that controls who win or lose.
What could you tell Tim, or what could you tell him about a Spence fight if he was a future opponent?
I can't tell him nothing. I just tell him good luck, train hard, and go in there and fight.
Would you say taking the Errol Spence fight, it wouldn't be the best decision for his future? Because that would arguably mean...
I think that's a good fight for both of them right now in their careers. I think that's a great fight for both of them because it's winnable for both of them.
Terence Crawford said he is genuinely looking forward to seeing Errol Spence Jr. back in the ring and believes the former champion is capable of delivering a strong comeback performance. Crawford expressed confidence that Spence still has the tools to compete at the highest level and expects him to show why he has remained one of the most respected fighters in boxing despite the challenges and time away from competition. He believes that once Errol Spence Jr. steps in against Tim Tszyu, fans will see a reminder of his elite-level ability, ring IQ, and championship mindset, all of which have defined his career even through difficult periods and long breaks from active competition.
Confident that you win that bet with Tazzy, watch Errol in the fight.
Well, I'm not, 100% confident. I just know, the caliber of fighter that Errol is. Just like I know the caliber fighter of Tim. I think both of them have taken a lot of damage in their career so far. But I just think, Errol skill-wise, just edge. I just wish him well. I wish him well, much respect with him in his career, and I'll be looking forward to seeing what he do in his.
Tim Tszyu has welcomed the challenge of facing Errol Spence Jr., making it clear that he is eager for the opportunity to finally share the ring with a fighter of Spence's caliber. Tszyu acknowledged Spence's accomplishments but also pointed to his lengthy absence from competition as a factor worth testing, suggesting that several years away from active boxing could be difficult to overcome against a hungry and dangerous opponent. In Tszyu's view, ring rust, timing, and sharpness are questions that can only be answered once the fight begins.
This camp, I was sort of sparring southpaws as well. Like, as much as I respected Nurka and what he was going to bring, I still needed to, it was still coming into my head that I was fighting a southpaw, so it was distracting, but I did try and block it out.
Tim Tszyu also warned that Errol Spence Jr. is in for a very difficult night, emphasizing that his aggressive approach and constant pressure create problems for every opponent he faces. Tszyu expressed confidence in his ability to dictate the pace, force exchanges, and make fighters uncomfortable throughout a bout, suggesting that Spence will need to be at his very best to handle the intensity he plans to bring when they finally meet in the ring.
I can't wait to get it on with him, honestly. He hasn't fought in a long time, and I do want to expose that, What do you say?
Yeah, he said, you think shit sweet, do you so bad?
Oh man, he's got no idea. He's got no idea. He's going to be in for a hard fight, because a style like me, it always presents challenges to a lot of people.
He's only ever fought at 147, Spence. Coming up to that extra weight, what should he expect in the ring with Tim Tszyu?
Yeah, just harder punches, different gloves. It was an 8 ounce. It's not 8 ounce gloves anymore. It's up to 10 ounce, and just a different feeling, coming off a 3-year layoff. I'm a bad guy to choose off the.
While he acknowledged the elite pedigree of Errol Spence Jr. and the technical brilliance of Terence Crawford, Tim Tszyu believes this kind of high-level matchup ultimately favors an action-packed, fan-friendly fight where momentum can swing quickly. Tszyu remains confident that with the right tactics, pressure, and consistency, he has the tools to break down the rhythm of elite opponents and walk away with a statement victory when the opportunity comes.
1 point as well.
Yeah, he also lost money from me as well. So, it's just typical, man.
Obviously, he's only ever lost to Crawford, one of the pound-for-pound best ever. But watching that fight between Spence and Crawford, what do you see in that fight that you can exploit?
Well, look, stylistically, it's two different fighters. Crawford's technical genius, so it's hard to compare what me and Crawford against Spence would do, but it'd be just I think me and Spence would be more of an entertaining fight, we've both got that style that's pleasing for the crowd to watch. So yeah, it'd be a cracking matchup. Stylistically, I feel like it's a real crowd pleaser. So yeah, I just got to bring a few good tactics into this fight. And
Tim Tszyu has expressed strong confidence heading into the fight, believing this is his moment to defeat Errol Spence Jr. He feels he can take advantage of Spence's current condition and any possible ring rust after a long layoff from competition. Tszyu is convinced that his pressure, timing, and clean punching will become increasingly effective as the fight progresses, ultimately making life very difficult for Spence in the later rounds.
That chases the toughest and baddest challenges out there. And when I got presented with Errol, who's undeniably one of the best fighters of this decade, I didn't hesitate, and I straight away accepted. I accepted not to compete, but I accepted because I knew that the victory is only on my mind. I know the challenge that is put in front of me. I'm going to work super hard, and I'm coming for it all. And thank you again. Victory is.
Errol Spence Jr. believes he is entering this fight as a more mature and mentally stronger version of himself, which he sees as a key advantage against Tim Tszyu. He feels the setbacks and challenges of recent years have helped him become calmer, more focused, and fully locked in throughout camp. Spence also suggests that this improved mental clarity has sharpened his training, discipline, and overall approach, potentially leading to a more controlled and dangerous performance once he steps back into the ring.
I guarantee you, come July 26, you will see a better, more improved Errol Spence. It was some time I had 3 years off, and I feel like it helped me mentally. It helped me physically. Gave me some time to recover, and just enjoy life. Enjoy the spoils of my wins, and just being with family, being with friends. If you watch my Instagram, you see me traveling, enjoying my kids, having fun. And people kept asking me, "Are you coming back? When are you coming back?" And I told them, I know when it's ready. I know when I'm ready to come back. And I knew one day that I wake up and I decide to come back. And if it didn't happen, then I wouldn't come back to boxing. So I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to put on a great show. I can't wait for July 26th to be fighting in Australia, to be fighting in front of his fans. I look forward to disappointing them, putting on a great show, putting on another great performance, and showing y'all why they nicknamed me the Truth.
Tim Tszyu also made a subtle dig at Errol Spence Jr.'s long layoff, suggesting that after so much time away from the ring, Spence may have benefited from a softer return fight instead of jumping straight into a high-risk matchup like this. Although brief, the comment carried a confident warning, with Tszyu implying that Spence could struggle to adjust to his pressure, pace, and intensity after such an extended break from active competition.
It's definitely not recommended, to go straight into the firing line. It would have been better to start off slowly, but, on his caliber, he feels like he doesn't need tune-ups, which is fair enough. But yeah, it's going to be fireworks from the opening.
Chris Algieri believes there are still significant doubts surrounding both Errol Spence Jr. and Tim Tszyu, making this matchup far more unpredictable than it may appear on the surface. In his view, both fighters bring elite qualities but also unanswered questions at this stage of their careers, which could turn the fight into a highly volatile and closely contested battle once the opening bell rings.
We're very high contact fighters in terms of their styles. Tim comes right at you. He's really in front of you, like he's shown in his last couple fights. And Errol's a Terminator. He comes forward and rips with both hands. He's a combination puncher. I think he's actually going to feel better at 54, not whittling himself down to 147. So all in all, I do like this fight because both guys have enough question marks that you really don't know exactly what's going to happen on fight night. Tim Tszyu and Errol Spence, or Errol Spence and Tim Tszyu, depending on how you want to bill it. Probably go Errol Spence first. But I actually like the fight. It's a fight where I think there's a lot of question marks for both guys. And if Errol was coming in and going right to a fight with like a Virgil Ortiz or someone who was streaking at 150, or like a Sebastian Fundero, for example, coming off the layoff, I would be a little more apprehensive than I am with this. Because Tim Tszyu is a guy who his life has been turned upside down. His boxing life has been turned upside down in the last couple of years. From going from a budding superstar champion looking to make a real name for himself in the States, to taking two really bad stoppage losses, to looking less than stellar in some of his comeback fights, to a guy who's been switching training camps, losing touch with family members. There's a lot going on brewing under the surface of Tim Tszyu at this moment, and with Errol, he's just a big question mark. The guy hasn't been in the ring in almost 3 years. His last fight was a really bad loss to Errol Spence. There was questions about his health in terms of the beating he took from Crawford, but also the car accidents that he had many years ago in which he...
Errol Spence Jr. versus Tim Tszyu has also been viewed by analyst Bernie as a sensible comeback fight for Spence, particularly considering his long layoff and recent setbacks. He noted that Tszyu still carries strong name value in the sport, even though his form has shown some inconsistency and he has suffered difficult moments in recent outings. While Bernie isn't fully convinced about Tszyu's current level, he still considers him a credible and marketable opponent who makes sense for Spence's return, especially since fans are primarily eager to see Spence back in action at the highest level.
Tim Tszyu has obviously, lost some steam, but he still got a good name, and, really mostly about his name. I don't know about his ability at this point, but, with a guy like Errol Spence that's come off such a dramatic defeat and a couple years layoff, almost 3 years, it'll be, wow, time flies. I think it's a good opponent. I like to see the kid back. Like I said, he took awful lot of punishment in those fights. He took awful lot of punishment in those fights. And I guess I just keep him winning. I don't know if he's going to fight again. Is he going to fight one more time before Spence or what?
Yes, he is actually. He's actually having another tune-up in between.
Good. Oh, well, then it's great. It's good. It's good. Fight this year too. Good. He at least, like I say, Spence is fighting the guy.
He fought three times last year.
Yeah.
Tim Tszyu. He got a win over Joey Spencer after the Bakram loss.
Yeah.
And then, he got Fondura. He got stopped in the 7th, and then he fights Anthony Vasquez.
So last year he lost to Bakram and he got 2 wins. He didn't lose to
2024 he lost to Bakram.
Tim Tszyu is a decent fighter. He's a decent fighter. Yeah, he's decent.
Now, so Spence, when this fight comes into June, it'll be obviously 3 years.
Yeah.
And he's also going to Australia for the fight. So what do you think? What do you think about the layoff and then the beating that he took with Crawford, leading into that 3-year period?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then also needing to go into Australia, which is Tim Tszyu's hometown.
Well, I think the rest was much needed. I'm sure he had a lot to talk about with the victory, like get over things mentally about that. And he probably had other stuff that was going on too, though, So he just probably handled it all, got it all out the way. Probably had stuff he was dealing with, whatever that was, leading up to the fight. But when that happened, his kind of momentum kind of stopped.
Who wins this high-stakes return fight, Spence or Tszyu? Drop your prediction in the comments, like the video, and subscribe for more boxing breakdowns and updates.